All right, Maren, it's showing the time running, but are we running?
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time it is where you're listening at. This is Maren Costa of Unapologetically Maren, the Cornbread Chronicles. This is season 2, episode 3. And today we have a very, very special guest that I'm so excited to introduce to you guys. This is Layla Matson. She's a wonderful, wonderful person I met off TikTok. She is the 23rd wife of Warren Jeffs with the FLDS, Cult World Church. She has an amazing story. She is such an inspiration, and we are trying to share her experience and share what she's been through so that we can make a change in the FLDS world. So, Layla, I am so glad to introduce you and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I am currently a mom of 3.5. I just reached halfway. I left the church in 2013, but I married Warren Jeffs when I was 17 in 2002. He was 46. And he was not yet the leader of the FLDS church at that time. His father was still the leader, but he was definitely like next in line. Everyone knew. So to marry him was like considered to be like a great honor.
A very great honor, they say.
Yeah. He and I are second cousins, so it's a bit of like it was. I won't say it was like bittersweet, but it was like scary as hell. I'll say that it was very scary, and I never wanted to marry him. Other girls, yes, definitely. He was like the one person in the church I never imagined marrying. It was like not gonna happen. In my brain, it just would have never happened. So the shock of being told I would marry him was pretty big. Being under 18, I was under like very strict instructions to not talk about it, don't share it with anyone. I had to be married in hiding. We had to leave the state of Utah, and we went to Nevada to get married in hiding because there were not laws against it in Nevada. Girls being married underage.
Gotcha.
So at the time, I do believe every state has now established some kind of like underage marriage like clause, especially because of all the drama that Warren Jeffs and his FLDS church caused.
Right.
So yeah, I married him in 2002, and he became the prophet 6 months later, the leader. A lot of changes started to happen almost immediately.
So when the same changes started to happen, when he became prophet, how did that make you feel? Like, because that's like a really large sounding thing, like very important in your world. So how did that make you
Well,
feel
it
that you were about to
definitely.
be married to the prophet?
So we were already like kind of in the spotlight because Warren did everything with his father for his father. His father was 92 years old. Warren pretty much made all the decisions for his father, and we were very close with his father's family as it was. And when his father passed away in September of 2002, he left behind 55 young ladies and 10 older ladies. And Warren at the time had 25 wives, all of them under the age of, I think the oldest was 42 at the time that his father passed. So, my age, wow. And there were 25 of
Your age
us.
now.
Yeah. There were 25 of us, but when Warren became the prophet, we were immediately transitioned to the spotlight. There was definitely like,
Did those wives also then become Warren's wives? Or how did that work?
not just immediately. I apologize for this, but I do have to put this in. Not
Oh, you're good.
immediately. So it was about a month after his father passed. Then he married 7 of them in one day. Did not tell us, his wives, until the next day, or his family, or anybody. So that was kind
Wow.
of like culture shock for us, his family, because we were suddenly like, I don't know, it felt like we got really close to him for that month. And then all of a sudden it was like his first 25 were put on hold a little bit.
Yeah.
And we could tell that he was like really focusing on his father's wives. And um, someone asked what was it like having my first child, but that was after I left the church.
Right.
And how did Keep Sweet, Pray and Obey become part of our daily lives? To be honest, keep sweet no matter what. It's a matter of life and death. That was warrenjeffs saying. That was his father saying. Keep sweet no matter what. So when
Right.
Warren became the prophet, keep sweet, pray and obey, he took the phrase and made it his, right?
Yeah, and very
And basically
literally.
you couldn't it gave you little room for error. And especially as his wives, like we had no room for error. The people were watching, Warren was watching. To mess up was incredibly scary. And there was like a lot of public shaming with the wives who did mess up, even in a small way. Even in a small way. Um, about 6 months after Warren became the prophet, then so I was 18. Myself and a couple of other moms went out and decided to go roller skating in our great big new court that they had built for us. And one of Warren's daughters was like, "Get off the court. Father doesn't even want us to be around the mothers." And I said, "Actually, I'm pretty sure he would want us to all get along." Well, he doesn't even love you guys. He just loves his kids. I mean, just being a
Oh.
9-year-old stinker. Um, and I said,
Right, right.
I'm pretty sure he loves all of us. Pretty much loves all of us. Well, that was the end of that. She threw like a tantrum type fit, ran into the house, and I didn't know anything else about it. And then that night in family class, we would meet every night with Warren. He would read us scriptures, tell us how to keep sweet and pray and obey, tell us how to be more obedient, how to be more humble.
Yeah.
He was definitely doing like a fine tune, like grooming of his family at this time, because this was before he went to Texas. This was before he even changed all the dress code to pastel and plain colors. Um, but in that night class, then he said to everyone, he's like, "Listen, one of the mothers told the children that Father loves the mothers more than the children." And he expounded on how horrible that was, that anyone would even suggest that to his children and suggest that he is anything less than perfect love toward them, and that
Right.
he loves them all equally, but he loves Heavenly Father above all. And the wife who said those things needed to humble herself and come forward and repent and confess. And I remember thinking, dang, whoever said that was pretty brazen. I had no idea he was talking about me. I had no idea that the situation earlier that day. So yeah, it was okay. And then as we were like saying goodnight, I'm oblivious, right? I'm oblivious to the fact that the whole evening he was talking directly to me because he would not make eye contact with me. And that's a lot of times like how he would shame you is you were beneath. So he just, it's like he would stare off into the distance next to you. And when I went to tell him good night, we generally would give him like a side hug and a kiss. Oh yeah, very romantic.
Very romantic.
And he put his hand on my shoulder, kissed my forehead very quickly, which usually meant you're in the doghouse. And he was like, you need to talk to me. You need to talk to me before I leave. We all knew he was leaving. We all knew he was going places. At this time, he was, in fact, like establishing his place in Texas, but nobody really knew about it. Like 10 people knew about it. And he kept it from his family. He kept it from everyone. He even like, I don't even think it was 6 months after he became the prophet that this happened. So it could have been like, yeah, it was even sooner than that. But
wow.
Here I am
I realize
thinking,
it's so soon.
yeah, here I am thinking like, oh, I messed up. I messed up big. Like, oh no, this could have been 6 months when he started. Yes. Early 03. That's when he started like disappearing and looking for properties. And he found his property in Colorado. He found his property in South Dakota. So
very far away,
he
random
left.
places.
Yeah, for sure. But that's where they could find land that was remote. And also, it was very strategic. They went to Texas because there were not laws against girls being married under age. You could get married clear to the age of 13. And then I believe they changed it within a few years of the YFZ ranch happening. Then they changed it to 14, and then soon after they changed it again, and I don't know what they changed it to. I think it was 16, and it has the Romeo and Juliet clause,
parental
like
consent. Yeah.
Yes, and now like you couldn't be more than a certain age difference between you and your husband. But up to that time, it was never specified, and so he chose Texas for a reason, very strategically for a reason.
Very calculated, strategic.
Yeah. He left, and then the next day, then I was like trying to get a hold of him, and one of the wives noticed that I was like waiting for him, and in his waiting room, and she's like, "Oh, he left. Like, he left." And it was one of the wives that knew whether he was there or not. There was like 3 or 4 that kind of knew his schedule. I was like, oh, okay. So I went and talked to his brother, and I was like, hey, I was supposed to talk to him before he left. Well, then I get this call, and like 10 minutes later, and he lit into me. Why would you ever say such a horrible thing to the children? Like, I was like, what did I say? What did I say? He's like, Lord. He told me what happened on the court. And no, that is not what happened on the court, but that's what he was told because, well, a 9-year-old girl told him. But actually, she told her mother, and her mother told him. Anyway, I was like,
Wow.
oh, wow. And I said, I am so sorry. He's like, so you did do that? And I said, no, I'm sorry that I didn't know you were talking to me last night. Like, I had no idea that he was like directing all that anger and like disgust and everything at me. I just kept thinking
Towards
the poor
you.
girl, whoever's guilty of this, that poor girl. Like, I feel
Somebody's in
so sorry for
trouble.
that.
I don't know who it is, but
Yeah. Yeah. So I was like,
so was there like a hierarchy with the wives? Because you were saying like maybe
mm.
10 wives knew what was going on. And so is there kind of like a hierarchy with you guys?
I wouldn't even say 10 wives, 10 people in the community.
Oh, wow.
That included
Wow.
that included men that he could trust. He had a very tight circle. A lot of times, one or two wives knew anything about what he was doing.
Oh, wow.
And if you got to go with him to do anything, you had to keep your mouth shut and never talk about it. It was sacred, it was secret, because it was breaking the law, you
Right.
know.
Quite literally.
And so I noticed he did not like, he used certain wives that if for some reason he got caught, it couldn't like put him in prison. I noticed that right off. And so at the time that this started, he was using like one of his father's younger wives that he had married. And just to clarify, these women did not have children with his father. So, I mean, his father was very old when he married these girls. Most of them he married after he was 80 years old. So
Oh,
these
wow.
were very young girls who married an 80-year-old or an 85-year-old or a 90-year-old. So when he married them, it was a whole new experience for them too. They'd never been married to a younger man. And so it was like us getting new wives because he was treating them like the rest of us, except
Right.
we were to lead by example, that there was no like jealousy in his family, because we're not human.
Right.
But I I think it always like bothered him that I didn't say, I'm so sorry I did that. I didn't just own the correction. I think that irritated him. Because after that, I swear every time I got in trouble for something, which was often enough, then he would say, you need to confess of
Often
your
enough.
sins. You need to confess your sins. And then he would say, I got your confession and the Lord revealed to me the truth of it. Yeah. It was a very controlled environment, very controlled. And by April of 2004, he put myself and about 30 of his wives in hiding. We were not named worthy to go be a part of the redemption of Zion in Texas or the other sacred places. So we had to live in hiding because the FBI had moved him from wanted to most wanted.
Right.
So he had to like really crack down his operations. He said he was never going back to Short Creek. For those who don't know what Short Creek is, that's Colorado City, Arizona, Hilldale, Utah. That was the town I was born and raised in, or mostly raised. I lived other places as well, but that is where the bulk of the
Did you
FLDS
find all
people
this
lived.
out later, or were you aware of all this as it was going on?
I was aware that he was wanted by the FBI, and we were
Okay.
just told, if you're ever taken, stand on the fifth, plead the fifth, and do not answer them anything and understand the world, they hate you. They do not love you. They will not support you. They will grill you to the bone. And then as soon as they get what they want from you, they will throw you out and discard you as trash. You have no value to them. The only place that you will find peace and comfort and happiness is within these walls. And that was drilled into us so hard that by the time he was taken, we were terrified of the outside world. Terrified.
Right.
Having a conversation with anybody was just like completely unnerving. And for the most part, we didn't need to have a conversation because we were kept in houses. And I would say it's like being in, protective custody with the marshals.
Yeah.
Except we
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
running from the marshals. And
Running
we
from
weren't
those
allowed to
people.
live. We weren't allowed to live normal lives. We just had to quietly live inside a house or inside a trailer, wherever we were living. We had to live like inside. And for the first few years, we had like zero connection with the outside world. And as people would,
I can imagine.
humble themselves and flower shower Warren with praise and their humility and desire to only do his will. Basically, as soon as he broke them mentally and spiritually, then God would reveal to him that they were ready to go be a part of the stake of Zion. And I literally watched women like pray themselves to nearly to death, like would starve themselves for days praying, and I would hear them like weeping and crying their prayers. And he also implemented in 2003 that we do these hand holding prayer circles every hour. And this was just established in his family. It hadn't been established in the FLDS culture completely for a few years. But we had to stop whatever we were doing with whoever we were doing and gather and hold hands
Right.
for prayer every single hour from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. And sometimes those prayers would go on for 10 or 15 minutes. I kid you not.
Wow.
Women, and we're all human, right? These girls, they had
Right.
allergies and stuff. I remember there were wives that were so fervent that they would not let go of hands because you had to hold hands in this circle, kneeling down. And they would not let go, even though their nose was like dripping from allergies, and there was like contorted faces and like high pitched voices. And I just remember thinking, is this really like God? Is this really communicating with God? And to be
So
honest,
were
I
you
feel like
actually
that
questioning it though? Had you just
I
started
did
questioning that, or have you always been questioning that?
that.
If
No,
if if you were really
when I
talking to
was
God,
like,
if it
yeah, are we really, is this prayer circle really an actual prayer circle? Like, it's the first time that prayer made me go, now what? You know, because I was very devoted up to that time. I really focused on prayers and stuff. Except for when I was
yeah.
like a little girl. We may have opened our eyes and we would sometimes laugh at what little kids would be doing during
Right,
prayer.
right. All little girls though.
But um as an adult, like, yeah, this was when I first started questioning prayers. And then shortly after we started those prayer circles, Warren had us meet him on a mountain. I believe it was like, I think it was Kaibab Mountain in Arizona. Um, And he told us that the Lord had revealed to him that certain people were appointed unto death. And I remember thinking, now what? And one of them that he told us that they were appointed to die was his wife, his second wife. She had cancer. She had breast cancer. And that her treatment would not work. And so it would be pointless for her to finish it. And that
She
was
was
kind
starting
of,
treatment, like y'all were allowed that kind of medical care?
she was.
Okay.
Um, and so I think she went like almost clear through with her chemo. And then he said she was appointed unto death. So she stopped her treatment. And I believe he told her to stop. She was 38 when she passed. And she had 8 children. And it was very difficult for me to watch her, because he took her kids from her to Texas. And like, why would you do that? Like, and she had a baby,
Right.
like a 1-year-old baby. When I married Warren, she had a 1-year-old. So when she was diagnosed with cancer, like an almost 2-year-old. So by this time, her baby was like 2.5 or 3 years old, and to me, that's a baby. I don't care who you are.
Yes,
2.5 years
very
old,
big
that's a
baby.
baby.
Yeah.
I mean, I call my 12-year-old a baby. So, you
The
know,
12-year-old is a baby.
um,
My niece is that age, and
that's
she's a
right.
baby.
And so I can't even imagine the heartache. I felt it to a degree because I watched how sad she was when he took her kids and told her she needed to humble herself so that she would be worthy to be with her kids in Zion. And we hadn't been told where Zion was. We were just told Zion. Excuse me. So, and he took away the children from all of the wives. But to that time, I think he had children with 15 ladies. And he had, I think, 62 wives up to that time in 2004. He went from 62 wives to 79 total before he was taken in 2006. And there were
It's hard
girls
for
who
my
married
husband to handle
him.
one wife. I can't imagine 79.
Oh, right. Well, and here's the thing. Someone asked me yesterday, they were like, so do you miss him? And I was like, miss who? And they're like, your ex. Like, why would I miss something I never had?
Why would I miss
Because
that?
he was not my possession, but I was his. Right?
Exactly.
We were literally grooms, born and raised, especially the girls. It was like drilled into us. You are like a diamond in the crown of your husband. He is your Lord and King. And his obedience to God through the prophet, that is your salvation. So don't question it. Basically, that.
And especially with you, I mean, your husband being the prophet, you weren't just married to
Yeah.
anyone. You were married to the main person that you could,
Yeah.
that you were just so lucky, so should be so
Yeah. So
honored.
to complain would have been like, people just thought something was terribly wrong with you.
Right, right,
So
right. How
you
could that
couldn't
not be your
complain.
dream?
Yeah, pretty much. And I remember just thinking, gosh, I really hope that none of my sisters marry him. And I had that legit like worry, because lot of the wives and their younger sisters would marry him. A lot of the wives. So the control, like he would find families that he trusted, and then he would just marry like 4 or 5 of the daughters. In my dad's family, he
And for
married
those
2
that don't
girls.
know, he did marry your half sister, literally, what, 5 minutes apart from you.
Yep. Yes.
So your
And
little
the
nightmare, yeah,
wedding was
unfortunately
not,
didn't ensue.
yeah, the wedding was not glorious. He married my half sister. She's 6 weeks younger than me, so we were both 17. Um, and we were very close growing up, but having this happen, it was like suddenly we weren't allowed to be close anymore because we just needed to do what he wanted when he wanted. So it was like very focused what he would do. He would separate sisters emotionally and physically. And so as close as I was with her my entire life growing up, because we were like twins. My birth
Right.
name and her birth name were twin names, Ada and Ida. So it was really like hard for me because looking back on it, he just did what every narcissist does. Isolation, separation, gives you just enough
Manipulation.
compliments. Yeah. Gives you just enough compliments to make you think that they actually do care about you. And then like tear you down, tear you down, tear you down, break you down. And one of the things that he did with me, like immediately, was he was like, you don't need to be running back to your father's house. You don't need to be doing that. But at the same time, he had told her, you should visit your mother at least once a week. And so I would watch her go home and visit my family. And she would come to me and say, you should come. And I'm like, I can't. He doesn't want me to go. And what she told the family was that I was doing work for Warren, and made it sound like it was all sacred and special what I was doing. But no, I wasn't. I
Something
was at
so
home
important
washing
why you couldn't
dishes.
see your, yeah.
I was home washing dishes or folding laundry or cleaning house or, yeah, I wasn't doing anything
So what I would
spectacular.
wonder what made him allow her to go see your family but not you? Like, what was the difference? Like,
So, like I
because you were
said, he
bad.
chose families that
Just
he
kidding.
felt like he trusted or whatever. He did not
Yeah.
care for my mom at all. My mom
Gotcha.
was his first cousin once removed. So they had like history. Clear back when they were kids. And
Right.
her father had apostatized and taken a huge group of people with him in like 1980, 84. A bunch of people left the church with her father, with her dad. Well, he is Jeff's blood uncle. So it was like a royal dispute, kind of, because they were both
Right.
apostles, Jeffs and my mom's dad. They were apostles in the FLDS church at the time. And so it really like left a bitter taste in Warren's mouth that my mom, you know, even though she stayed with the main FLDS stream, she didn't follow her dad, but that really didn't matter to him. He
Right.
had he did this a lot. Like the sins of the fathers, he pinned on the children, like a lot.
Yeah.
And he absolutely loved my sister's mom. He loved her. Married her
So that's
to
why she
his
got a
right
little bit
hand
more
man.
privilege than you did. Yeah.
Yeah. So in 2004, my dad was one of the first families that he tore apart. He released my dad's 3 wives from him, And a week later, he took my dad's first wife and my dad's third wife and remarried them to other men and left my mom single and dependent upon the church. And my dad was kicked out. He had to leave. He had to leave town. He could not associate. I could have nothing to do with him. I should never speak to him. I would be considered talking to like the worst of the worst. So, which was very hard for me, very devastating, because I was really close to my dad growing up. I so close to him that when I married Warren, I felt so betrayed, because I had told him, I don't want to marry a man as old as you. And then I was like, I really don't want to get married. And when he turned me in to the prophet, he basically told me, here, warrenjeffs are my daughters, and I think they should marry warrenjeffs. And warrenjeffs said, okay, cool, basically. In his own way. He just
So
like,
it wasn't
okay.
something, okay. So you didn't want to marry him. So it wasn't like growing up as a little girl, like you didn't strive to want to be part of like being married to the prophet or being married, you know.
There were like, you could dream, right? You could imagine things. And I imagined marrying warrenjeffs more.
Okay.
Like, I imagined what an honor that would have been. And then he ended up marrying like my cousin that was a year older than me when she was 17, just turned 17. And I just remember thinking like, what an honor to be married to the prophet, right? But every time
Right.
warrenjeffs would get married, I was just like, oh wow, they married him, and it never went through my head, oh, I could marry him. I even
Right.
imagined I could have married his brother, Leroy. I could have married his brother, Lyle. Like in my brain, I was like, oh my gosh, I could marry any of these, because we were
Why
told
him?
it was our privilege to be told by the prophet who to marry. So we could not court, we could not date, we could not ask. If you asked for a boy, you were like so naughty. Like you were the worst girl in
Yeah.
town.
Not a girl.
And usually like
Right.
public
Right.
shaming, would be sent away for a year, told like you need to humble yourself, and then like, so you didn't ask. You didn't ask.
Yeah.
But I did not know until I got turned in that a lot of fathers asked for their daughters to be placed places. And then I found out actually in 2022, when I was processing through some of my grief with my
Mm-hmm.
dad, in one of my very needed conversations, because I did not have a conversation with him about all of this from 2002 until 2022. I waited 20 years to process
Years.
this with my dad.
Wow.
20 years. And 10 of those years, I was absolutely forbidden from talking to him. I could not have anything to do with him.
That's what I
Actually,
was
11
about
of
to
those
ask
years.
you. So you were allowed to
Yeah,
talk to your
11
family?
years. I was not allowed to talk to
Wow.
him specifically. And then in 04, when he sent me into hiding, I wasn't allowed to talk to anyone. Like, period. Don't. Couldn't call anyone.
Right.
So
Right.
when I processed this with my dad, he was like, I had no idea the monster that he was. I had no idea. And he said, I hope you know that I regret it with my soul. And so it gave me, and he has told me several times, I will ask your forgiveness every day for the rest of my life, but I know that I cannot. It wouldn't be enough to undo the hurt and the betrayal. But he truly thought in his mind that he was giving his daughters to the second greatest man on earth. we were marrying the second to the greatest man on earth. And then when he became the greatest
proud.
man
It's
on
like
earth,
honor.
and it was suddenly like an honor that his two daughters were married to the greatest man on earth. And it was so weird.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, we were not high class. We were middle class-ish in the community, which is weird because I am like fourth generation of like literally like the FLDS royalty. My great-great-grandfather was the prophet. My great-grandfather was the prophet. My uncle was the prophet. And then my husband was the prophet.
Oh.
But I didn't get treated like royalty until I became a Jeffs.
Right.
For some reason. And I think it had a lot to do with my mom and the fact that her dad apostatized when I was literally like 6 months old. So
Gotcha.
I think that's why our family in particular was like demoted somewhat. It just, so what made my father stop believing in warrenjeffs, honestly, I'm not even sure, because I didn't talk to him really until like 2019. So clear from 2002 to 2019, I really didn't have much of a conversation with my dad at all. And then I had a good conversation with him in 2019 when his, or 18, when his father passed away. And I asked him, do you still believe that warrenjeffs is the prophet? And in 2018, I had been out of the church for 5 years, but I did not talk about religion. I did not talk about even me coming away from the church. I didn't talk to anybody about, I was not married to warrenjeffs. Like, I did not talk about that. When I'd tell people and they'd be like, well, have you ever been married before? I'd be like, yeah. I was married to this guy named Jeff. That's what I would say. And they're like, well, what was he like? He's like 6'3".
To have to talk about her.
You know.
Yeah.
Well, why didn't you guys have kids? He didn't really want them. Thank you. I'm in the middle of a podcast. I'll see you. Sorry. My kiddos. So my dad said, I'm still trying to wrap my head around some of the things that he's done in the name of God. And that's what our conversation happened in 2018. And then when I moved to,
are your parents still active in the FLDS now?
Oh, no. Okay, so my dad was kicked out in 2004. His wives were taken from him. He was told, never come back. And then in 2008, when the raid happened, suddenly they needed him back because they needed his money. They also needed his legal support because they had kidnapped his children. And the state had kidnapped his. Yeah. So they needed him to come be a legal guardian that would come and claim his children. And that's when he found out, in 2008 is when he found out that in 2004, two of his daughters at the age of 16 and 13 had been married. Because in 2008, both of those girls had 2 kids. 16 and 13. And the girl that was 13, she had 2 babies. Before she turned 18, she was taken as a kid in the state of Texas. They wanted to take the babies away from her, and she's like, yeah, you ain't doing that. So, so she had to have somebody legally claim her. legally claim guardianship so that she could be guardian of her own babies. And so that is when, suddenly it was okay for my dad to come back. But
Right.
as soon as they used up all of his money and used up all of his time and used up all the resources that they felt like he was bringing to the table, then you can go now.
But I can go back.
Yeah. Which was really how they did everything with everyone, like all the time. It was.
What were y'all thinking, and how did
And
you feel during the time of the raid?
devastated. I was supposed to go to Texas. I had my bags packed. I was told I was going to go to Zion. And I didn't even know for sure where it was. Because when they trafficked us places, they would
Right.
not tell us where we were going, ever. What he would tell us is, the Lord has revealed that you're worthy to be a part of this mission. And when you get there, you'll know more about it. You'll know more details. So I will tell you, my dad really did just like give up his testimony of warrenjeffs until I told him in 2022 some of the things that were going on. And he was like, I had no idea. And he just bawled. He cried with me. And he was like, I am so sorry. I'm so sorry.
So you could
And
tell he really didn't know.
he really didn't know. I mean, Warren Jeffs was declared over and over as this perfect individual. No one could find fault
Yeah,
with
the
him,
prophet, amazing. Yeah.
and God spoke through the prophet, and that was every man's testimony, or
Right.
else they disappeared. Literally disappeared.
Mm.
But no, they didn't
Right.
get unalived. It wasn't like mafia.
Right.
They
Right.
just would be kicked out into the world and told, go figure out how to live your life. Um, and so
Which was a
my dad
blessing.
was
They just
kicked
didn't know it at the
out.
time.
Yeah, true. In 2004, my dad was booted
Mhm.
out. Um, I was married to Warren from 2002 to 2013. I left in July of 13. Um,
How
Started
did
and
that
married
come
like a little.
about? Like, how did that decision be made by you to leave?
So, a punishment that Warren gave me is how it started. Um, he had been like really like chomping down on, don't take medications unless you need them, because
Right.
the medical world is inspired of Satan, and it's all for like their financial gain. And psych meds especially were like considered mind altering medications, so it had to be like
Right.
controlled by the devil, right?
Right.
Excuse me. And I started having anxiety attacks, panic attacks,
Mm.
and I would cry in my panic attacks. Like I could not stop crying. And there were times that I would cry for like 4 hours straight. Like I couldn't stop crying. Um, what I found out later was the fact that Warren had told me to stop eating this, and that I could only eat this and this and this. He put me
Because
on a
he was
very,
into
very,
like really tiny women, right? Like I've heard that. Like
yes,
he kind of made y'all almost starve yourselves just to fit this like ideal body
his
figure that
persona.
he was
Yeah,
attracted to. Yeah.
yes, yeah. So I went from
Mm.
160 pounds when I married him, I was not fat by any means. I was
No.
healthy. I was a healthy girl. Um,
Right.
but I went to 100. I mean, I even got below 100 pounds.
Whew.
By the end of 2006, I was 98 pounds. I did gain a little bit of weight back up. I gained to like 114, where I stayed for a really long time, 112, 114. When I went to Texas, finally, it was after the raid, I was 112 pounds. And my mind was already pretty broken down from years of being in hiding. I had been in hiding for 4 years up to this time. I had been on a very strict diet, very strict. And so I think that just like psychologically, my serotonin levels were so messed up that by 2011, that's when the panic attacks started. And I had had some major surgeries happen. Like they had to happen. I had hernias that needed repaired, and was in incredible pain. So post surgery, then they told me they felt like I would benefit on some psychiatric help medication, because
of course,
coming off of the pain medication, I was going through withdrawals pretty heavy. And then I started these sad attacks. I call them my sad attacks, because I just would feel so sad, so sad. And the amount of judgment I got for feeling so sad, like, what is wrong with you? Why can't you be more grateful?
You're married to the prophet,
control.
and
Yeah, fun. Like,
you should be
you
feeling
have the
very
most perfect.
grateful. And
I mean, your sister wives are amazing.
Right.
Wow. So Warren was basically told by someone that I was taking psych meds. So he told me to go back to hiding. And when I was in hiding, I'd been there like 2 days. Then I got a message from him saying that God had revealed to him that I had given my mind over to the buffetings of Satan, and that I needed to repent and be removed from Warren's family. I could no longer be worthy to be around his children, and that my worthiness to bring forth children had been stripped from me until I humbled myself before God again. This was like the third time he'd told me that I was like not worthy to have children.
But in a way, that's a blessing. I would rather you have amazing children now, and you're in love, and you found yourself. It's kind of a blessing you didn't have children with him. So
It is
his loss,
and it's
but
devastating. His loss, absolutely. Hell yeah. And to top off the punishment, he sent me to live with my mom, whom he did not like. So that was like ultimate punishment.
Right.
To be honest, it was the best thing that could have happened to me, because it took me out from under this constant like mental scrutiny, this like constant.
Right.
I mean, I know that all of the women were under pressure. I do. But dang it. Like, some of those girls were straight up bitches who were bullies.
Yeah.
And it was like they felt like their only acceptance to God was to shit talk other people. And I just happened to be kind of at the bottom of the bucket for a lot of them. And so, gosh, I was being corrected all the time by the brethren, all the time. So when I got sent to live with my mom, I almost went through withdrawal feelings, because I had nothing. No connection.
It's a part of PTSD and trauma and stuff.
And it was very traumatic. Also because I could not tell my mom anything about my past 10 years. Couldn't
Right.
tell her anything that I had done in the past 10 years, even though her and her kids, she had 4 kids at home, and they would say, well, when did you go to Texas? Like, when, you know, when this, when that, and I couldn't talk about them with them. I couldn't tell them
Right.
because that would be breaking Warren's trust. That would be, and his confidence was life. That was your lifeline. That was like, you know, and so I lived in mom's house, just stayed home, kind of like only sewed for the storehouse, was going stupid in the head because I was supposed to live in hiding in Hilldown now. I was living in the town I was born and raised in. I knew every street by name.
Mm.
I knew 500 phone numbers that I could recite off the top of my head as a kid. Like this was my town, and now I had to hide in my own town. And after about 6 months, I was like, this is just ridiculous. I'm not doing this. So I just started going out, acting like one of her unmarried daughters. And there were a lot of people who didn't even know who I was because I had gone from 160 pounds. I looked older, more
Right.
mature at that weight than
Right.
this 20, 27, 28, 29-year-old girl who was
Weighing like
110
112
pounds
pounds.
now. Yeah,
Yeah.
that I looked like a completely different person. They just thought I was one of mom's other girls. A lot of them had no idea I was the one that was married to Warren. And the ones who did kept their mouths shut. So when I went and got a job, which Warren had specifically told me not to do not work for money. But after 6 months, I was like, screw this. Like, I am so sick of staying home and beating myself
Right.
up for all the things that I'm not doing right. I gotta get out of it. I've gotta like get busy. So I went and asked someone for a job, and he gave me a job, and I changed my name. I went by Heidi. Everybody called me Heidi.
Oh, Heidi.
Um, Heidi. And
So from Ida to
that
Heidi.
actually came from when Jaden, I've got to tell this to Jaden. When Jaden was a little boy, he was little when I married Warren. Then he used to call me Mama Heidi Heidi. And he's 3. And he'd call me Mother Heidi Heidi. And so Heidi kind of
Oh.
stuck. And so
Yeah.
Heidi was like, in my mind, they were like, well, what should we call you? And I was like, Heidi, call me Heidi. Because I could connect with that name, you know? And it gave
Yeah.
me a little bit of like comfort because I did love Warren's children.
Yeah.
I, like any stepmother
The
could.
children are innocent. I mean, no, of course you're going to love
Um,
the children, and attached to the children, I imagine.
yeah. And like their milestones, I was so proud of them. I remember feeling like I just prayed to be worthy to be a mom someday, you know? And so
Yeah.
being called Heidi was like a little bit of connection to that motherhood feeling of being called mother by Warren's children.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't heard mother for so long. And
Yeah.
um, so I was feeling really alone. Started my job, got myself a car, also a huge no-no, but I did. I did it anyway. Got myself a car.
You're so bad, you rebel.
I know. I would keep about, I would say like $80 a month of my paycheck. The rest I would turn in to the bishop.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Wow.
but I would keep $80 because I had this like also very rebellious of me. I loved these waffle fries that were at our gas station. And so every work day, the middle of the work day, this was basically my breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Myself and my
Waffle fries.
understudy would drive over and we would order waffle fries and we would share them every day. And we'd trade pay every day. So $40 a month on waffle fries. Totally rebellious. Also, I was not supposed to be eating deep fried food. So that was totally like out there, y'all. That was and then about $40 a month on fuel. About $40 a month on fuel. So
Gas and fries.
yeah.
Got you by, made you
And
happy.
I was pretty content. Always wondering though, like wondering what's next, because this cannot be the forever. This can't be the rest of my life.
Right.
And I wrote him so many letters, y'all, so many letters asking him what's next. What am I supposed to do? And I would humble myself and I would grovel and I would pray. And I had an experience with an outside person, one of my ex-sister wives now. She had moved into the duplex next to me. This was about a month before I left. She moved into the duplex next to me with her mom and her mom's kids. And my mom had just been kicked out a few months before. So I was there with my mom's little boy and my mom's youngest. And everyone found out that I was no longer worthy of the United Order. So I had to live in a house where people who were not living the United Order lived. And by this time, he had destroyed hundreds of families, like destroyed them, tore them apart. And anybody who was like United Order could live in a house with United Order. And that it just started to be like this big old mess, this big old like mixed families, mixed everything. And my sister wife asked me if I would come with her because she had gotten herself a Clavinova electric piano. They're about $8,000, and it came with some buffs and scratches in it. So she called the company, and they were sending a repairman. The repairman, when I saw him, was the first time in my life I actually felt what chemistry was. And I was like, oh my gosh, like what in the world?
What am I feeling right now? Yeah. This is
Yeah. And this is very wicked. This has got to be wicked because I have no control over it. And because we didn't date according to chemistry, you know, well, we didn't do any of that.
right,
And so
absolutely.
if you married someone that you had chemistry with, it was very rare. But you could tell the couples in the
Very rare and
community.
random. Yeah.
Yeah. And you could tell who was because they were genuinely happy. Like you could just see their connection. You could just feel it. And I remember praying every day. I pray to be worthy to have a husband that I'm one with. Because that was the terminology, you know, to be one with your husband.
Yeah.
And which would be a beautiful thing if it wasn't used to like completely strip you of everything significant and make you their little whipping post or house slave baby machine. So I was feeling pretty bad, and I was like, I don't know what to do with all these feelings. The guy walked us out. He opened the door for me. First time in my life any man had ever held the door for me. And when he shut the door, he handed me his business card and said, "We'll talk soon." And I knew we would. I just, like, I felt it. I knew we would. And I was like, oh my gosh, something's so wrong with me. And then my sister wife was like, that guy was so weird. That was
You're like,
so
he's
random.
wonderful. And she's like, he's weird.
I couldn't say anything. I couldn't say he was wonderful. I was just like,
Right. You can't admit to that.
that was weird. Yeah, that was weird. You know, that's what I said. Yeah, that was strange. I was like completely overwhelmed. And then I noticed that he handed me his business card and he had written his cell phone number on the back of it. So I had his 3 work phone numbers and his personal cell number. I had no idea what that even meant.
Right.
And
Right.
so I just thought about it for like all night. I was like, what does that mean? Why did he give me his number? And why do I feel like I want to call him? Why? I'm married. I'm married to the problem.
I'm married.
Yeah. And I'm humbled to the dust, praying to be worthy to go be a part of Warren's family. And what it happened, I had like dreams and dreams for the next like 3 or 4 nights where it was just like I watched my world fall apart. And I knew it was time. And I had like this epiphany. I was like, oh my gosh, he's never coming out. I will never have children. He's never coming out of prison.
Right.
And I had been trying and trying to get a hold of Lyle, who was the only person who was allowed to like counsel me aside from Warren. And Lyle was not taking my calls. And I tried for 4 days that he did not take my calls. And I was like going stupid over it. Like, and then it just hit me really hard. And there was this funeral in the community. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, he's going to be to the funeral. Why don't I go to the funeral and plant myself on a front row somewhere so he will see me and see that I've been trying to get a hold of him. Right. And then I was like, but why? Why do I even want that? Because I knew the steps of confession, the humiliation that followed, the extreme correction, the rebuke, the like, thou shalt leave and humble yourself, and God is so displeased with you. And I was like, what am I don't need that. I do not need that mental pain. I was in so much mental anguish from when Warren told me I could no longer be around his children. I was so broken by that, so devastated by that. I did not need somebody else to tell me again that I was worthless and that I was useless and that I could no longer, you know? And I was like, I don't need that conversation. And so I had like a little bit of like a conversation with my sister, but not my sister wife. My sister was living with me. Yeah. My sister wife lived in a duplex next to us. I had a little bit of conversation with my sister that was living with me with her son. And I was so oblivious to the fact that she was pissed off at me over something. And then she was like, why won't you talk to me? And I was like, you know what? I was so caught up in my head with this. Like I just found out about a few months ago why she was mad at me. Like, she was mad at me for something. And I missed it because I was so caught up in like all these feelings.
Right.
And I was like, I don't need another woman finding fault with the way that I spend my time or my energy or anything. I'm just exhausted. And I walked into my room. I grabbed my hair bag, what I call a hair bag, and it was like this little zipper bag pouch. It had my hairspray, my hairbrush, my hair comb, and a few hair tie indies. And I got in my car. I had $34. And I got in the car and I drove out of Short Creek. And I remember thinking,
Wow.
like, I'm doing this. I'm doing this. And I felt giddy almost, like, oh my gosh, like I'm doing this. And then I kept
So instead of
thinking
being
that the
scared, you're
darkness was
actually
just gonna
excited.
come over me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was so afraid that it wasn't real because I felt so relieved. And the further away I got, the more relieved I felt. And I was like, what is wrong with me? I am leaving everything behind. I'm literally leaving with the clothes on my back and everyone I know. I have nowhere to go. I have no one to talk to. And I'm relieved. And I was like, what is wrong with me that I'm so happy right now? And so, like, I feel like the whole world's in front of me and I'm supposed to feel all this darkness and evil consume me. And like,
You
and I
didn't.
just kept driving and thinking that I was somehow going to drive into the dark cloud of like,
Yeah.
of obscure, evil apostasy. And it didn't happen. It didn't happen. And a few days later, then my sisters, my two sisters, I had three sisters from my mom who were still in the church. And they, two of them had talked to me on the phone, and then they told her, my other sister, y'all know her, Maddie. They told Maddie that I was just dead inside. I was just deadly
Hmm.
calm. And what she said to me later was she was like, I thought, oh, so she's at peace about her decision. She's like, I should have gone with her. I should have gone with her
Right?
because she's at peace. And it was a pretty incredible thing to feel at peace
Yeah.
and to not feel
Something
like
you
I
probably
was just
never had felt before, really.
and not like, I don't know, in the last
At least in a
12
long
years
time.
before that, I just constantly felt like I was letting someone down. I was constantly disappointing him. I was constantly, and so suddenly I didn't have him to disappoint anymore, and I was like, I don't even know what to do with this. And it took a long time to figure out that it was okay to make my own decisions. A long time.
So did you suffer, like, how was your mental health after that? Like, I know you were happy to leave, but once you were gone and once you knew you weren't going back, I mean, did you struggle a lot?
So
Did you
that
find like it was really hard to go into the world, or?
at the time, 2013, the situation with warrenjeffs was still pretty new in the world. Everybody knew
Yeah.
who he was. Everybody knew the nefariousness. He had just gone through the court cases with Lacey Wall. That was all over the TV in 2010. Then in Texas, and he was convicted in Texas and all that. And so by 2013, even people who had been kicked out of the FLDS really didn't want anything to do with me because I chose to leave the prophet. I chose the ultimate sin, which was apostasy.
Right.
And so it became very, very, very lonely. And aside from anybody who knew me in the FLDS church that met me after I left, aside from ex-FLDS people, I told 5 people in the first 5 years. And the first
Wow.
person I told was my boyfriend, but I had to like kind of ease him into it. And he was just like, wow. And
Wow.
I I do appreciate that he kind of made me his project of education. He's like, there is so much in this world you've got to experience. I mean, he made me watch The Sandlot. Like, he made me watch all the classics. Like, I watched all the classics with him. And I do appreciate him and his effort to, like, socialize me a little bit.
There's to socialize you.
Just, get me in with, like, what music I would have listened to as a teenager, what movies I would have seen, you know?
Right.
And we did watch movies up until I was like 13, off and on.
Okay.
But then they were taken away from the FLDS at that time when I was 13. So I did get like the older Disney classics as a kid. I did have Donald Duck. I did have, in fact, I'd seen a few episodes of Barney even as a little kid. But like anything that really happened after like 1996, 96, 97, that's when everything really changed for the people. And so I had to catch up on a lot of stuff that happened between,
Got a lot of catching up to do.
a lot of catch up. And I used that to fill my time. And I kept my story locked away. Because in my mind, Warren had done me no wrong. I was the one who had broken my covenants and left. I was the wicked apostate. And so clear up until, I want to say 2019, I felt like I was pretty safe under a rock. I was in an obscure little town, the edge of Wyoming and Nebraska. I had people who were like,
What?
you have such a unique perspective. Like, were you Amish? And I was like, no. They're like, but you're so soulful. You're so soulful and you're so kind and you're so like,
You are.
but I'd be like, it's because I had to keep sweet, damn it. I
Yeah,
had
exactly.
to, you know. The mental process, though, when I started to open the doors, the PTSD, the anxiety, the depression, you start unburying the pain and the realization that, oh my gosh, that hurt like hell. Why did I not let myself feel it then? Why was I so worried that if I felt those feelings, I was going to hell? And the process, and in a lot of ways, processing was kind of like getting over an addiction. And I actually had an addiction doctor talk to me because he said, you were addicted to a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And so this fear of like losing all of that, then who was I without that? Who was I even? And this feeling of like, I don't know how to feel without that. And he told me it is so much like addiction. And he said, you will learn to live without it. You will learn to embrace that it was a part of your life, but it did not make up who you are. It didn't make you this, you know? It was an experience. It wasn't your identity. And yeah, that
So what
conversation happened
changed
in
in you that
2022.
made you come out like you are now? Like now you're telling your story. It is part of your journey. You know, you're not ashamed. What clicked? What changed that made you want to say, you know, I was Ida May, you know, I was married to warrenjeffs. This is my story, and be able to do it on social media, especially.
So in 2022, I hit rock bottom. I'd been free falling from 2013 to 2022. I was free falling in abyss. Like there were no edges. There was no slowing me down. There was no stopping.
Right.
And I lost my brother in 2021 and went through extreme survivor's guilt. My brother was 15 months younger than me. And the reality of life, just like why him? Why not me? Survival's guilt.
Yeah.
And then a month later, I lost my sister-in-law to cancer. And 3 months later, I lost my grandma. When I lost my grandma was still in the FLDS. And this is really when it hit me. How like incredibly separated and judgy they were. And that I would never be accepted by them. Because we had done my grandma's viewing, but we were allowed to go to her viewing, but we could not have her funeral because we were not FLDS. And so
Right.
the apostate family side, we met and had a viewing for my grandma. And I was just broken. Like I felt so much judgment. I had seen like a few of my uncles there at this funeral, at this viewing that I adored as a little girl. And as soon as they saw who I was, they went from like shaking my hand and then as they recognized who I was, and they like pulled away.
Mm.
And I felt so much rejection and so much like for my blood, my family. This was my family. This is my father's mother. And I just felt all this judgment and all of this like exclusion. And I just wanted to know why I was so worthless that they wouldn't even want to shake my hand. And it kind of sent me into a sad spin, like a really sad spin. And I started to feel really sad about life. And so in the end of March 2022, I went to the hospital for help because I needed a lot of help. And in the FLDS, if you asked for psychiatric help, then that meant that you basically were turning your back on God.
Right.
That you were,
That's like of the
and
devil and
well, yeah, and you weren't allowed, and medication for that was an absolute taboo. And so letting myself get help was incredibly hard and incredibly scary. And then that is when that doctor said to me, look, this is like an addiction. And I didn't even tell him like who I was married to. I just said I was in a cult. And then so they got me out of the hospital. I think I was hospitalized for almost a month. Almost a month.
Wow.
Where I needed to get my will to live back.
Yeah.
And anybody who's been that sad understands it. I have so much love and like so much heart for people who know what depression is and anxiety. And so if there's anyone ever who is sad enough that they feel that those feelings, I'm like, please come talk to me, because I never want anybody to feel that sadness ever. So it was very sad.
Absolutely.
And
yeah, absolutely.
when I went to the hospital, my little boy, he was 7 at the time, and no, he is not from Warren. I had him within a year after I left the church. But he sent me to the hospital with his Care Bear. And told me that it would keep me safe and help me sleep. And y'all, I walked around that facility cuddling my little boy's Care Bear
everywhere.
the entire time. That poor Care Bear was tattered and worn by the time I got home.
You still have the Care Bear.
We do. Oh yeah, absolutely. And
that's awesome.
So they signed me up with a psychologist, a group of people to help me, a care team who would check on me. One person would check on me every day, one person would check on me every week, and one person would check on me every month. And the girl who did my initiation to find me a therapist that would do my weekly, the person who'd check on me every day, they would just text me, "Hey, you doing okay?" Like that, you know.
Yeah.
I was in California. I was in Sonoma County. And I hope that Sophia hears me someday. I will always love her for seeing something and reaching out, because when she did my intake, she said, "So you were like in a cult? I just see like in the notes where you said you were in a cult. Like, was it like, if it was in Utah, was it like the FLDS?" And I said, it was the first time I ever said this out loud. I was married to warrenjeffs. And she's, oh my God. And I cried.
She's like,
for about
wow.
10 minutes. And she kept just saying, oh my gosh. She's like, I'm just holding space with you. It was an over the phone convo because COVID still had a pretty tight hold on the medical world at this time. Yeah. And she was like, I'm just here. I'm here. I'm holding space with you. Like, I'm here. Well, she asked me after my intake, she called me back the next day and she says, "This never happens. I never do this. I've never done this before, but I'm wondering if it is okay if I take you on personally." She had her master's in psychology. And she was supposed to be in charge of a team, but she wanted me personally. Because when she was studying for her master's, warrenjeffs and the FLDS was her subject of study. It was what she chose as her psychological path
Wow.
of like craziness.
So
So she
total
knew
destined
who
meant to
Warren
be
Jeffs was.
scenario.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so the fact that someone in the world knew who Warren Jeffs was, someone clear out here in California, you know,
Right, right.
and I was just like, oh my gosh. It felt pretty special and intentional, like the universe did this. And she was my
Absolutely. That's what I was
therapist.
thinking.
She was my
That's
therapist
awesome.
for 2 years. And she's the reason. I will say her constant, this was not your fault. You were always worthy. It was his loss, not yours. You know, you were the courageous one. You were the brave one. This wasn't your fault. This wasn't your fault. And
Right.
when I kept saying, I feel like I need to write a book. I feel like I need to write it down. But every time I start to journal, I would dissociate so bad.
Yeah.
And she's like, when your mind has healed to a point where the PTSD doesn't consume you, because I had very rough like episodes.
Very
We
severe.
unraveled.
Yeah, I
We
imagine.
opened every door, and we unraveled childhood trauma that I didn't know I had. And
Hmm.
we did some very, very intense healing. And she was like, when it's time, your mind will tell you when it's time. When you feel like you are completely in a safe space, you're no longer afraid of repercussions, because there are no repercussions to speaking the truth,
Right.
as long as you're protecting your peace, you know. Um, but being told that telling the world about that would bring all kinds of things, I had to learn over the course of 10 years that everything he said was pretty much a lie. You know,
Right.
that the
You had to
world
relearn
didn't
your
hate
entire
me.
world. I mean, God.
Yeah. And that the world was not going to destroy me. That,
Right.
and what really, to be honest, when I had a baby girl, all of a sudden I was like, how in the bloody hell could anyone give their daughter away? How how could they do that? How could they give their child to a man that was old enough to be their father? And I was like, I will be damned if
Your
the
grandfather,
world does
even in
not
some
change,
cases.
because this is not happening anymore. We are not
Right.
doing this no more. And I was like, I've got to start telling my story. And one of my brothers was like, you should tell it on TikTok. TikTok is changing. This was last February, a year ago. It's like, TikTok isn't what it used to be, even 6 months ago. And he's like, TikTok's changing. They're under like new management. And he's like, you got to do it. You got to do it. So last July, I made me an account. I got 13 followers, and then I didn't touch it for till about
Didn't touch.
the middle or the end of August. I didn't even get on TikTok. And then I got on TikTok, and I didn't even know about live rooms, but I went into a live room
Uh-huh.
of a live post, and she said, look, for you who have felt lost and need somewhere to feel safe, I found my space here. And she saw me, she connected with me, like without even realizing it. And about a month later, she's like, go live, do it scared, do it afraid, go do it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like what would I even talk about if I went live? And I just started to post my videos, little video clips. And if you look at my videos of my first postings, y'all, I was like
Uh-huh.
dissociating through some of those. I was not really strong through some of those. Like it was very raw and very, very felt if you watch some of my very first videos. And
Was this
I was kind
Maggie's
of
room?
afraid. Yes, it was.
I knew it.
Yes. And she kind of stepped into the role of like my AI big sister.
Yeah, she's
Because,
amazing. I love her. She's how I saw you. Actually, when I found you was in y'all's battle. I was in her
oh,
room when you
really?
did your little first battle. And when
Oh,
she was saying your
wow.
story, I was like, I've got to connect with her, And so I added you. And then I was like, I watched every one of your videos and was like commenting on everything. I was like, just like, I just felt you. Like, I don't know. I watched every single one. I'll probably left you 100 comments. Then I was like, I'm just going to reach out to her. Like, I have got to meet her. I've got to talk to her. Like, I just felt I needed to hear your story and I wanted to share your story. But that's how I saw you, was in the battle you had with Maggie.
Well, and Maggie
And
had
I knew
figured
it
out
through the
who I
screen. You were
was.
special.
Oh, and she was like,
Oh,
we
she
were
did?
bawling our eyes out. It was so special to me that Maggie would say, well, if you don't have someone to battle, do you want me to battle you? I don't do this usually, but do you want me to battle you? And I was like, oh my gosh, that would be so amazing. Because I was like, the battle, I'd only done one battle before that, and it was with a random guy. And
Uh-huh.
I have hangups. I have PTSD that is associated with men who are
Yeah.
jerks. And so I felt kind of a jerky vibe.
Right.
And so I was like so scared to do battles now. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm just scared of all the live
Right.
hosts. And so when I told her, I was like, he kind of was kind of a jerk. And she's like, oh, she was ready to come through. And she's like, I will throw tables.
Flip some tables.
I know that
We
she
know
would throw
her.
tables for me. And so it was,
Yes, she would for me
that
too.
battle was very special. It was very special. And yeah, I freaking love her. I have met some of the most beautiful people in the world right here on TikTok. Like soul sisters and
Absolutely.
people that I never imagined could accept me and just love me for me. Just
Right.
and they didn't need me to do something or be something in return. I don't and I it took me a few months even still I'm in awe sometimes of like, well, why are they kind to me? What is it that I'm not
Well, you
giving
are
back?
kind to them
Because
for one. You are such a kind soul.
I know, but my whole life kindness came at a cost. So having people just be
Yes.
kind because they're kind people, it's so pure and rare to me that I do not treat it lightly. I don't. Um, I don't. And it means the world to me. The people that I've connected with here, it means so, so much to me. And I love you so much. You who have touched my life and told me that it's just okay for me to be me, you know?
Yes.
So
And it is.
thank you for that.
You, we should always be true to ourselves, which is so hard to do. I mean, because we're our worst critics and we always see the good in others, and sometimes we don't always recognize all the goodness within ourselves. So, I mean,
Well, definitely not.
I recognize it
Yeah,
in you very, very quickly. And everyone that comes to your room that has became your friends recognize it as well. You are true, you're authentic, you are very grateful. And I have really, really, really enjoyed, us getting to know each other. And
absolutely.
I was so glad when you said you do the podcast. Like, I was so excited. But I'm just glad to
I'm
know you.
sorry.
Like, you for you.
I'm
That's probably
sorry it took us so
always
long.
in your mind. It's all good, girl. It's all good. But so, if there is one last thing that you can say to everyone, like advice, like what would you say? Like, just to give someone hope, just to give someone encouragement, especially maybe someone in the FLDS community still. And what would you say?
um, don't wait to talk about your story. Don't wait and say, I'm not broken, so there's nothing to heal. Acknowledge that you are worthy and reach out and find someone that you can connect with, because the worst thing that I did was waited. I waited years and years and years. And I've seen people who have taken this suggestion from me, and I see them flourishing and like coming out faster and healing faster and like getting their grounding, and I'm just realizing, don't wait to own your truth. Don't wait.
Right.
It's that.
Well, you are definitely going to help so many. And I know we talked a little bit the other day, you know, especially with all of the Netflix, stories that have came out, all the documentaries, like we were talking about, it's become so like a show. Like, people just
The
aren't
entertainment.
giving the space. Yes, it's for entertainment purposes. And I mean, I was even telling my husband, I said I was guilty of that at first too, like, because to me it was interesting. So I dove in, I've researched, I've really looked into it, just out of curiosity, but never out of glorifying anything. But there are so many people that do. But we need to save the space for the people that have been there and the people that are still there now. And these people need help. These people, when you come out, like you said, you didn't know what to do. You didn't talk to anyone. You didn't tell your story. You were depressed. It's like when you leave something like that, there has to be help out there. There has to be people, you have to know where to go and what to do. And people like you are going to be making changes in this world. I know I can see you doing big things because you want people to, like you said, just know themselves, live their truth, know that it was not your fault. It's how you were raised. It was what you thought was right and what you knew. And same with your parents, though, even if they were raised in that, that's what they thought was right.
My
But now that
parents,
you're
my
out, no different,
grandparents.
then it's time. And it's time to stand up, make a change, and help others. And especially, I can't imagine the mental health problems that a lot of these people are going to face. So there's got, we need to take action. You need to take action. Instead of commercializing these things, we need to concentrate on the victims that came out.
And helping them
And you're
heal
going to
and
do
helping
that.
them
So,
feel the
and helping them
acceptance
heal.
and the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to see what you do. I know you were going to do things, and I'm going to be there right there with you, girl.
Thank
And
you.
thank you so much for coming on with me this evening. We just didn't
Thank
do an
you.
hour. We did two. We just kept talking.
I know.
and And we're live on TikTok at the same time, which I have not done before. So I really enjoyed it, and I really loved hearing your story. And I'm so proud of you, so very proud of you. And I cannot wait to see what you do, because you're gonna do great things. So you guys, thanks for coming in. Those that are listening, thanks for listening. Thanks for being here with us today. Those of you that are watching us live on TikTok, thank you so much for coming into the rooms. And I hope you listened. And yes, I hope you enjoyed what you heard, but I hope that you really take to heart, the pain that, that these people have been through, and how strong that Layla is, and so many others are. But there are so many others that still struggle, and that are still fighting where they are. So just keep them in prayer and try do something to make a change. Don't just commercialize these things. What can you do to change this? And not even just this, but with any type of mental health related things. I mean, we have to speak up. We have to break the silence. We have to break the stigma of talking about these type of things. So keep speaking your truth, and thank you guys for coming in, and we will see you guys on the next one.
Thank you.